Welcome to another Sustainable Living at Home with Janine Liza video on the Art with Janine Liza YouTube channel. This is a 3-week countdown to planting outdoors. While the weather's making up its mind, the countdown continues. So I'm indoors, planning my garden to start, looking at what I've already done and what still needs to be put in place. We're having a sunny day, so I decide to add some more soil to some of the beds, and also make use of some of the clay beads from my previous aquaponics system as drainage in these pots where I'm going to plant some flowers. With still 3 weeks until it's supposed to be safe to plant an actual plant outdoors, I've placed some cucumber seeds in one of these beds, some kale and some rutabaga in this bed here. I'm also planting some seeds in an enclosure, like a nursery area, to see how they do. I think I planted them a couple of weeks ago and they've already started to sprout. This is good news. These are protected with a plastic tarp, and also there's a little bit of a tarp over top of the enclosure as well, so it gives it a little protection from frost. Here we have the pots ready to plant some flower seeds. This is the newly created bed with a little bit of straw for mulch. What do you think, Oaks? Not long to go. It's fun to go into the nursery area and check on the different items that are growing and see which ones have sprouted. It just gives you a little bit of encouragement that the other ones will grow. And also you can't plant the actual plants outdoors yet, so it's a bit of fun just to see these little sprouts starting up. Here we have those little blue greenhouses that I put in the soil. And you can see that the radishes are already starting to come up in their four little different types of radishes in their little circle areas. In the smaller bottle greenhouses, we had a little bit of success. So some of them sprouted nicely. Angela and Bruce made it through the winter, and some of the goldfish. We are going to be redoing the pond soon. I'm excited about that. Okay, so back over here now, I have some weed fabric down, and this is just so I can control how many of those bits of straw sprout before I'm ready to use that patch of soil. Over here the sage is starting to come out already, and I've used some weed fabric again just to control the ground until I'm ready to plant. Here we have the potato cage, and let's see if anything has started to sprout yet. I'm not quite seeing anything yet, so that's going to take a bit of time. Over here I have some blackberry and raspberry bush that I've removed from the front garden, and I'm just putting them in pots for now. In the beds, we do have a little bit of straw sprouting, but it's very minimal. I was thinking it was going to be a lot more, but I'm just finding the odd piece, and when you pull it out, the seed seems to come out with it, so it's very easy to manage at this point. In here you can see a little sprout. Not sure if it's a weed or something I planted yet. Here are some of the watercress sprouts, and I'm just seeing some more straw seeds here. So I'm pulling them out. They're just on the surface. You can see all the little tiny sprouts here in this bed, and it's protected with the netting, and then I will be covering it with something to protect it from the frost. Okay, so here we have those plant pots and my little packets of flower seeds that I purchased. I looked for seeds that had certain heights, and when I chose which ones were going to go where in the pots, I picked the tallest to go in the middle, and then obviously the lowest ones around the edges. And I thought 3 different kinds of flower per pot would be pretty nice. So this is my plan. I got to work planting those seeds, and now these pots are in the nursery area, protected from the frost and the rain, and I'll just water them with the other plants that are in here every day. Oh, the radishes are sprouting, and there's only 2 weeks to go. These radishes should be fine, even if they did catch a little frost from the edge of the enclosure here. They seem to be pretty hardy. It's exciting to see more of the sprouts coming up in the little container with the rock wool. Now that some of them are getting a little larger though, they won't be getting enough nutrients or any nutrients from this rock wool, so I will need to transplant them. And here you can see that on this nice sunny day I have prepared some pots, and I'm going to be transplanting some of these little babies, giving them a chance to stretch their roots and be ready for planting in the ground. One of the interesting things about the rock wool starters is that you can gently tear them apart and actually plant the sprout with the rock wool still attached to it, because it will just expand out from there, and you don't need to worry about tearing too much of the roots. They tend to pull apart quite nicely. And here we have 3 in this pot, 4 in this pot. I'm not going to put more than 4 in a pot because I think that's good spacing. I just scribbled a few letters on the side of the pot just to remind myself what's in there. This is obviously Brussels, and that one is spinach. I still have what's left lined up inside the container, so I know which sprouts are growing where. Now it's a bit early, yes, but we're having some extremely warm weather, so I decided to take a little risk and put these little rock wool sprouts right into the soil. They may or may not do well, but I thought I would just give it a try. I'm going to put these right by this trellis here so that they can just climb up. They're just starting to come through, so they can push through the soil. I do have lots more zucchini seeds, so I don't mind experimenting with a few of them. If these ones succeed, then we get an earlier harvest. I've put a little piece of mesh over them just to stop some of the little critters from eating the sprouts. Here we can see that the celery is now starting to come up. That is wonderful. I haven't seen anything happening in here for a couple of weeks, and now this little box of celery is starting to sprout. Just checking on the transplants, and they are doing really well. Let's see how our makeshift greenhouses are doing. Okay, so we've got a few sprouts in there. That's a Swiss chard. Not much happening in these ones right now. I do see some rutabaga coming up in this bed. And I think I put a few beets in the front here, so there's a few sprouts. Over here, these are really tiny, but this is the beginning of the carrots. Right now we have a lot of patches covered with weed fabric just to protect those areas until I'm ready to plant. And we have some seeds in the ground, plus the seed potatoes. This is the little cherry tree. This is actually out front of my house, and it's blossoming beautifully. As is the apple tree. I just love these little blossoms. Back indoors, I'm just preparing some rice to cook and sharing a little tip that I use for my plants, and that is to not waste the rice water when I clean the rice. I usually take it afterwards and pour it on my plants. So I'm going to pour this on the potato cage and the beds that I've planted seeds in already. Also, while cooking, I like to save some of my seeds. These are seeds from peppers that we've enjoyed. I just put them in a strainer, rinse them and dry them out. And these are from a butternut squash. They can be planted. While I have put some seeds in the ground and have some things started in the nursery, technically we're not supposed to put plants outside until May 2-4 weekend. There's a few things going on in the garden here. I have this little parsnip shooting up here, and the sprouts are still coming through a few at a time. Something starting to grow in my year-round outdoor strawberry, wild strawberry and chocolate mint pot. Sharing an interesting idea that I had. I saw these in the dollar store. They're just deck chair covers, a little bit of thin plastic, and they're very economical to buy. They worked perfectly for when I needed to cover my beds for the frosty nights. I also used a bit of this netting that came with some packaging on something. So there's various things you can use to protect your plants from that little bit of frost from hitting them, such as bubble wrap packaging as well. Once the cool night is over, I've got to remember to open up the plastic a little bit and let the plant area breathe in these little protected sections. There we go. I can just throw that back on when it gets cold again tonight. If anyone had told me that my favourite place was going to be covered in mud and full of different containers with straw on the floor and sprouts sprouting up everywhere, I would not have believed them. This is the coziest place to have a cup of coffee on a beautiful spring morning. Just looking at how all these sprouts are doing and watching things grow. It looks like some of the sprouts from the little greenhouses are going to need transplanting as well. Here you can see some of the Swiss chard that was transplanted, now growing a little bit larger, and you can see a few more leaves on the carrot plants as well. And these are the celery. So those little tiny celery sprouts you saw have now been transplanted into some of these pots. Most of them have been transplanted into plant pots now and are continuing to grow beautifully. Being the cheeky gardener that I am, I decided to plant this early. So there is still a week to go before the plants can come outside, but I wanted to bring this Scarlet Runner Bean plant out and see how it does. Here in the new long bed by the trellis, there is something growing and I'm pretty sure I didn't plant it. So maybe this is a gift from the squirrels. In this time just before planting, I can also see a lot of little sprouts coming up, and this is a handy time to just sort of pull those weeds out that might be in there. Let me just get this in focus. You can see with this one that it's got very distinctive shaped leaves, and there's a little bit of red around the center there, and the stem is red. I don't know what the name of this weed is, but it does take over the garden, so I'm happy to see them now and pull them all out. Here you can see my lemon trees that are in the nursery area in the garden right now, and those pots that I put all those beautiful flower seeds in. As each day passes this week, I have been adding odd little bit to the garden. These are tomato plants and a couple of eggplants. These ones are actually white eggplants, which is interesting. I've never grown these before. We'll see how they do. I just found them in a little grocery store. Just a few days to go and the rutabagas and the kale are growing really well under this netting. And once again here we have a little surprise planting from some of the little creatures from the garden. I believe the surprise are the beans that I have planted, so I have moved them back over to where the trellis is. I guess they must have dug them up and moved them somewhere else. So I'll put them back over here and we'll see how they do. The chicken wire has now been removed because the cats really aren't interested in doing stuff in this bed now. There's just too much going on with the weed fabric and everything. And so I am now watering and keeping the plants watered as they start to grow. The sage is doing really well. This is a good sign that the plants might be okay if I start some of them outside in the next couple of days. With the pond water warming up, it's time to start feeding the fish again, and I can tell they are watching me and waiting for something to eat, so I'm going to go get the fish food. Angela, Bruce and all the goldfish got a special treat this year, as did I, for my birthday. My family visited and they literally redid the pond. So they put in a new liner, laid out the stones differently, moved the fountain, and purchased me a lovely fountain that's like a waterfall, and it's just beautiful. So the water looks lovely. There's a bit of blue dye in there to protect the pond from algae, and I'm going to add some more plants. It's finally here, the weekend where we can plant stuff in the garden. Happy planting, everyone. The garden is looking great so far. These are seeds that I had planted and seed potatoes. The potato cage is doing amazing. Here's the sage. These are cucumbers. These are beans and a lot of rutabaga. Fast forward into June and a walk around the garden. Here's some beautiful parsley and tarragon. The new beds, there's rosemary, watercress, spinach, and some basil. The potato cage is doing well, the potatoes are growing, and it's time to put another layer of straw and soil. Now to wait for it to grow through the top again before adding another layer. Beautiful sage. This is a good start to the beans and the cilantro. Back in the nursery, the flowers are starting to sprout. The radish bed is looking a little bit more full. One of the types of radish is taking a bit longer, and there's a couple of pepper plants here that were a gift from my son. This year I added a little hanging strawberry plant as well. The flower pots are now out of the nursery and out in the sun and growing fast. Here we have the tomato plants also doing pretty well. And those little tiny transplanted Swiss chards are growing here. A little walk around the garden. This is the pear tree. We don't have any fruit this year, but it looks lovely. Over here I have the Swiss chard under this netting. This netting is a real lifesaver this year, or plant saver anyways. It's so lightweight, sits on the top and rises with the plants. This is my lemon tree. Over here are some random different tomato plants. And there's a little bit of scarlet runner bean in the back. These are some of the tomatoes coming in. I'm just going to go around the garden quickly and just show all the different things that are growing. Inside the enclosure there is, well, this is a lot of radish and some more tomato plants I didn't know where to put, so I popped them in here. Over here some rutabaga. Here are some pepper plants, just trying a few inside the protected area. And here's a lemon tree and some more wintergreens, and this one I don't know what that is, I may have to pull that out. There's a nice wintergreen, I am not certain which one that is. This is the carrot bed, looking good. Over here is the chocolate mint. This is outside the protected area in a big pot, and that's really tasty. Up here we have scarlet runner beans reaching for the sky and threading through all the netting. In here we have squash, and it's just starting to really come in now. And there's some little baby ones down here under this lovely netting as well. Over here I'd stuck a row of bush beans in, so they're just in a row right there, and under that netting as well. Again, the netting rises up with the plants. It's really handy, just keeps those little moths off. And along here is the fennel and another bunch of pepper plants. I've always wanted to make pepper plants work in the garden, and finally something's happening. Here's one here. We tasted it last night. Thought it was going to be a hot pepper because there is one hot pepper plant in here, but it actually turned out to be sweet and delicious. This black netting is a little heavier, especially when it gets wet, so I do prefer the other lighter green netting. But this one's really good for starting plants. In this section I have cauliflower. One in the back here is struggling a little bit because it's getting shade, so I may need to relocate it. Over here we have the sage, beautiful sage. I've already harvested it twice and it's still coming up. Over here is the cucumber, and again with the netting, very necessary. And you can see the baby ones down there coming up too. Soon this will be removed and it'll be able to grow up the vine, the trellis. So here's the black kale. Over here we have Brussels sprouts, and most years only one of these will grow. But this year, with the net and the beautiful mix of soil that I used with the straw, all 4 of these plants are coming in beautifully. And here's the potato cage. And I have added layers of straw and soil every couple of weeks or every week, and it's still growing right through, and hopefully we're going to have a great harvest from here. It's an experiment and a bit of fun, but it looks beautiful to me. Over beside this we have the, all these things to remember. This is zucchini, I believe, and hopefully these are going to grow up here on this trellis. Over on the other side is the oregano, and that's coming in lovely. I just watered everything, so the leaves are a little heavy right now. Blackberry bush, which I'm not really going to plant this year. Over here some beans, and these leaves are kind of like Velcro. It's really cool, they stick to your shirt. We've got the celery in the back there, some more beans, yep, there's the celery, and every single one, no matter how small, is actually growing. So there's going to be a lot of celery. This is kale. This is kind of a Russian kale, and then some rutabaga. And you kind of have to harvest these leaves as soon as they come in and look a little rich, because they turn white in patches if they go too long. So this one here is the curly kale, and it's looking beautiful as well. And over here on the other side there's some onions. These are the peas. I went a little crazy planting peas. I planted the seeds, waited a couple of weeks for those to come in, then I planted more seeds in the empty patches, and then once those started to sprout I planted more seeds in the empty patches so I could keep it sort of flowing throughout the summer. And I have this net around just to stop critters getting into the plants from the sides. And here I have the lettuce pot. So just a mix of lettuce, and those are delicious. I've already had a couple of salads from it. This bed is just thriving. I'm very happy with the way this has turned out this year. This is probably the most amount of things I've been able to grow in this bed. Down here you can see the tiny sprouts of the beetroots coming in. And just get these out of the way. There we go. There they are, with the little red stems. And those will come in more later on in the summer. And then there's a row of onions beside them. And here's the little celery plants. I didn't know if they were going to make it, but every single one of them is still alive. So this is a really good sign. We're going to have some celery to share later in the summer. Okay, so the beans are doing well. Here we have some parsley. This is tarragon. Now I wasn't sure if it was still the tarragon that I planted, but it is, so I'm happy. to know that. And yeah, these are looking amazing, and this is just the beginning of July. Over here, there's some more of those winter greens. On this side of the bed, I believe it's broccoli. They're doing well under this net. Over the other side here is basil. Now I had 5 basil plants, 3 purple and 2 of the green, and I wasn't sure if they were going to do well because they looked like they were fading, so I planted a ton of little basil seeds below them. And now they're thriving, and these little basil seeds are also growing, so everything wants to work in these beds. Here's the cress and the spinach already been harvested, and here's the rosemary. 3 little rosemary plants again, wasn't sure how they were going to do, but now they're thriving. So over here we have some more scarlet runner beans going up and doing really well. Just have to move these and keep directing them into the net. Flowers look beautiful. And down here is the cilantro. And over here is the beginnings of some more parsley. Tried this a few times and now these are coming up. So that's going to be a big parsley patch. And here, I think this was a gift from the squirrels. There is a sunflower growing here, and there was a few of them at the base of that, but they all got chopped off by something early. Beautiful flower pots by the pond. And here's the pond with a mesh over it because something has taken a couple of the fish, but we still have a couple of beautiful koi and the goldfish. So I just took that up to show you. The pond is doing beautifully. And we just keep it covered and protected. And you can see the water is being filtered and nice and clear over here, and it's moving beautifully. Here's a little clip of the fish eating their yummy food. This fountain was a gift from a family member for my birthday, and it's a beautiful addition to the pond. For those of you growing food and really doing some work in the garden this year, I hope that you're enjoying the rewards. Since I'm posting this video in mid-August, I thought I would just share some of the things I harvested today. The cucumbers are doing amazing. I harvested a few beans. I especially love these round beans. They're with the ones with the white flowers. Oh, and the peppers are actually growing. We also have beautiful zucchini. I did not harvest this one today. I'm letting it grow a little bit more. But isn't that amazing? And that little cauliflower that wasn't doing well got transplanted into the new bed, and I see new leaves in the middle of it already, so I'm glad that that's doing a little bit better. Now to get some beans for supper tonight. As you know, if you grow your own food, there's nothing like getting fresh food from the garden. You can go out if you want. You gonna get the door? Good boy. Thank you for viewing. If you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to find more like it, please check out the Sustainable Living with Janine Liza playlist on the Art with Janine Liza YouTube channel. If you'd like to help this channel grow, please feel free to subscribe.